Welcome back. I'm the Book Guy, and I'm here to help you find your next favorite book. This month I'm looking at small, undiscovered indie authors who are writing terrific stories and deserve wider attention from the book community. This is to celebrate my own series, The Immortal Investigations, coming to Kickstarter in just a few short days. So yes, you will not have heard of this series. This is Dynasty Codes. If you look it up on Goodreads, Book 1 has only 15 reviews, and Book 2 has only 1 review. And it's by me!
Fine, I'll do it myself.
But don't let that put you off. I loved this series. In fact, it's probably the indie series I personally enjoyed the most. And who cares what's popular anyway? The point is you read what you enjoy, and I think many of you will enjoy this. Dynasty Codes is a cross between Robin Hobb and Joe Abercrombie. It's right smack in the middle between beautiful storytelling and grimdark. In fact, I would describe the series as being light grimdark. Yeah, light, grim, dark. Anyway, this story is set in a fantasy version of Japan. It blends real-world history with Japanese mythology to create something truly marvelous. So let me pitch this series to you, because I would love to be remembered as the guy who discovered Sarah Kate Ishii. I would be A-okay if that was my claim to fame. Anyway, I'll explain the story concept, and then we'll dive into the top-quality writing and world-building of the Origin Curse. And I'm going to explain, too, the bizarre real-world story that led to me finding this author, because it's just a wild tale, and it'll also highlight how difficult it is for indie authors to stand out. Let's begin. Yoshiko is the daughter of the famous dragon daimyo. Sort of like a shogun leader, her family rule over the Hiei region. You might say she's like a princess, but there's something rotten in the state of Hiei. People are going missing. Servants in the castle, people off the street. Even Yoshiko's father, the famous daimyo himself, has disappeared, presumed dead. Her mother, Asumi, believes that they can no longer trust anyone, not even their own loyal troops. If they want to get to the bottom of this conspiracy, they need to act alone and they need to act fast. But there are 2 things that might just give them a fighting chance against this mysterious enemy. First is the foreigner, Gora, a hunter with an unusual set of skills.
A very particular set of skills.
Gora might be able to help Yoshiko, this pampered castle noble, to toughen up for the battles ahead. Yet Gora knows more about the current situation than he is letting on. He is hiding a dark past, and if he has to face it again, he is not sure how he'll react. The second advantage is the Origin Curse. The women of Yoshiko's family have long heard tales of the great dragon spirit, Kiyohime, inherited in their bloodlines. That's how their family got the name of the dragon daimyo, from legends of flying serpents breathing fire and destruction. Now true, it has been 300 years since that power last awakened, and since then, magic in all forms has been fading from the world. We don't really know why. But if Yoshiko and her mother can access this curse one last time, they may find the strength to save their people from a fate worse than death. So I found Sarah's books at Book Fair Australia. It's a literary festival held annually in Sydney, Australia that offers a chance for authors, both traditional and indie, to promote their books and meet new readers. And if that sounded like a plug, it's 'cause it was. Book Fair is coming again very soon, and I'll be there acting as MC. I'll actually be interviewing authors and hosting panel discussions on stage, and you should check it out if you're nearby. Anyway, last year I attended Book Fair and spent hours upon hours looking at every single book there, because I am determined to bring you good indie authors. So there were about 100 authors at this event, most of them indie. I looked at every single book cover and read the blurb on the back. And if I liked it, I would sit there and read the first 2 pages of this book right in front of the author. It wasn't awkward at all. But out of 100 authors, I found 6 authors that made my shortlist, because I had very high standards. Yet, there was only 1 author whose books I had to buy right then and there, and that was Sarah Kate Ishii. Because I read the first 2 pages of book 1 and realized immediately this was a professional novel, written to the same standard of any traditionally published novel. I want to share that story with you to point out what a big deal it is that I'm recommending her books today. I have searched far and wide to bring you the best indie books I can find, and this book genuinely rose to the top of a big pile because of its incredible quality. But it's also a big deal that someone would do what I did. Not everyone's as crazy as me to actually deliberately search at every book at a festival and engage so deeply with each one. The reality is, in a situation like that, it is very hard for indie authors to stand out. But after Book Fair, something bizarre happened. I hopped on a plane the next day to fly home to my city of Brisbane, Australia, and someone on the plane called out my name. And it was the author, Sarah, who recognized me after talking to me for like 2 minutes the day before. Well, we met up at the airport luggage collection, we realized we live nearby, and we met up for coffee. When we had our morning coffee, we talked for so long about books and writing that the store closed in the afternoon and the staff had to kick us out. So yeah, Sarah and I have since become friends, and there is definitely like a kindred spirit vibe there. But that did not influence my decision to recommend her books. I'm actually really glad I liked her books, because that would have made the whole friendship thing rather awkward. So after getting to know Sarah a little bit, I found out she worked as an editor for 7 years at a professional publishing house. So that's how she's able to write such high quality novels, through her extensive industry experience. Another noteworthy fact is Sarah Ishii is herself Japanese through marriage, and she lived in Japan for several years. When we met up for coffee, she took a phone call and answered in fluent Japanese. So she really gets this culture and knows how to bring it to life in her writing. Now, let's look at a couple of other things that this series does so well. This fantasy world is very much not European, so it's going to feel very different to most fantasy you've read recently. The mythology it draws upon is wildly different to what you might expect, and that means it's full of surprises. A big part of the history is pirates. When you think pirates, you're probably naturally thinking of the Caribbean. Don't know why. But did you know Japan also has a pretty significant period of pirate history? From the 13th to 17th century, Japanese pirates frequently raided the Chinese and Korean coastlines. They were known as the Woku-u. There were nearly 750 confirmed and documented pirate raids during that time period. So Dynasty Codes draws on Japanese piracy, especially the second book, Dark Tides. This is an era of history that we haven't seen much of in films or books, so it's great to explore this new setting and all the rich storytelling possibilities it comes with. The series also draws from real-world history. Specifically, we see the end of the Sakoku period of Japan. From the 16th to mid-18th century, Japan had an isolationist foreign policy, meaning they didn't interact with the rest of the world. This ended rather dramatically when massive warships appeared on the coastline and the emperor realized that they were
hopelessly, hilariously outgunned.
Which led to the Meiji Industrial Revolution, but that's beside the point. In Dynasty Codes, the Hiei region has been ignorant regarding the rest of the world, only to discover that the rest of the world has not been ignorant regarding them. This is also why the series has a light, grimdark feel to it, because Sarah has depicted this period of real-world history with unflinching accuracy and realism. Again, this is a period of history we don't see much of in mainstream media, which makes the story fresh and compelling. The final bit of world building is all things magical. This story has all sorts of unique creatures out of Japanese mythology. Some are cutesy and cuddly, and others are kind of unhinged horror. Magic has been fading from this world. We still see little glimpses of the series, but we don't know why magic has faded or where it has gone. The real standout here is the origin curse itself. Now, you might recall Brandon Sanderson's Laws of Magic. His second law states that limitations are more interesting in a story than powers, and good magic systems will always have a cost. Well, this magic system has an extreme cost, one of the most extreme I've ever seen. It really is a curse. You know how often people in stories get their powers and then they're like, oh, woe is me, my life is a curse and everything's so hard. But the audience is just like, dude, come on, you have superpowers. No one believes you. Well, that is not the case here. The origin curse, yes, may have some pretty incredible power levels, but you want to avoid using it at all costs. It is a true curse, and that makes for some excellent storytelling tension. So what's the story about? Well, each book has an epic quest storyline. Classic fantasy, I love me some epic quests. The Journey story arc allows you to explore the world building and mythology from this unique setting, though the journey may take place in a manner you least expect. The mystery plotline is very intriguing. Where are all the missing people and who is behind it and why? Now, I want to explain what type of mystery we have here, because there are multiple types. This is not exactly a whodunit mystery mystery with the trail of clues leading to a plot twist. This is more like a secret door mystery, where you finally open the door and see the revelation. So this series has several secret doors, metaphorically speaking, that lead to mystery and ultimately a big revelation. But it's not a trail of breadcrumbs and a puzzle with big earth-shattering plot twists, okay? It's more about the intrigue and the revelation. We do have the hero's journey, another fantasy classic, with Yoshiko learning to use her curse powers and striving to be a better leader to her people. And we have the plot lines surrounding the foreigner Gora and his past. This leads us to... So this series has two main characters, Yoshiko and Gora, and they are the highlight of the whole damn thing. Yoshiko is a great protagonist. She's one of those very serious people who is always formal and never lets her guard down. Yet the books carefully weave in just the right amount of uncertainty, self-doubt, and naivety to give this serious character a softer layer. We also see how much she genuinely cares for the people in her life. So she's a tough character with a hard exterior, but with just enough layers to make her human and relatable. It's a very nuanced piece of character writing, and I really appreciate it. Gora, on the other hand, is very cheeky. He has suffered a lot in his life and has learnt to mask his pain with sarcasm and humour, and a YouTube channel. Gora finds it easy to talk and be charming and likeable. What he finds difficult is being serious for 1 second, being honest, and speaking from the heart. Because who would he become if he finally acknowledged his darker side? And that's why I just absolutely love this artwork of them at the back, with him teasing and her being unimpressed. It's very much exactly who they are, and their interactions are just perfection. Now I know what you're thinking, but let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, you read that right. There is zero romance in this series. None, nada, nani moi nai. Now I know this is perhaps unusual and will have mixed reactions from many of you.
Such a dork.
But this is a fantastic subversion of typical fantasy tropes. Yes, the leads are a man and a woman, but they don't have romantic tension or even sexual tension. They are professionals, working side by side to accomplish their goals, and eventually friends. And that's all it is. And yet that's not all it is. There is incredible beauty in this type of relationship. This story shows the depth of respect, trust, and yes, even love that two people can feel for each other outside the realm of romance. You might say it's similar to Frodo and Sam. And yes, I know deep down we all wanted Frodo and Sam to get together and make out at the end. Okay, look, it was just me. But the point is, that's another example of a beautiful friendship without romantic or sexual tension. In many ways, this series and these characters are representative of asexual relationships, where people experience little to no sexual attraction for each other. And sometimes people can wrongly assume that asexual people are like robots with no feelings, but this story shows a very different reality, that asexual people often desire deep connections with other humans and are capable of great love and affection. So this story might be quite different than what you expect, and yes, some romance fans might find it a bit disappointing, but many of you will love this, because it can really challenge us on what stories and people can be. Love, after all, comes in many forms. So where does this story go from book 1 into book 2? Well, avoiding spoilers, book 1 is all about Yoshiko and the Hiei region coming under attack by a mysterious enemy and all of our characters defending themselves, right? Well, in book 2, it's all about them going on the offensive, hunting down those responsible for the crimes in book 1. It also introduces new mysteries. In book 2, magic starts returning, inexplicably. We see a massive resurgence in new creatures and monsters out of Japanese mythology. And what does this mean for the wider world and the origin curse itself? We'll find out. Another major difference is that the roles are reversed. Yoshiko is very much the primary protagonist of book 1 and Gora the supporting protagonist. In book 2, that flips over with Gora taking the lead, as you can see by the front covers, with Yoshiko on book 1 and Gora on book 2. So both of these books are quite distinct from each other, fitting together in the same world and same characters, but different enough plot lines to make them enjoyable for different reasons. Now here's something I probably should have mentioned a lot earlier. this is what stood out to me so hard from the second I picked up the book. From the first sentence I saw gorgeous writing. There was a perfect blend of form and function, clarity and poetry, a command of language and a melodic eloquence. See what I did there? Yes, this is fantastic writing. That's why I happily compare these books to Robin Hobb and Joe Abercrombie for their top quality wordsmithing. That's not a word. Part of this comes from Sarah's background as an editor. She knows what a polished book should look like, and it's this. 'Cause I'll be honest, it has concerned me how many indie books I've read lately that have not gone through the proper rounds of editing. But that is certainly not the case here. Every line here has a professional polish to it. I also mention this because I want to prove to you what indie books have the potential to be. Many readers think that indie books are low quality, and you know what? Yeah, sometimes that is true. Sometimes indie books are your Uncle Steve's first attempt at ever writing a book, and he publishes the first draft without any rewrites or any professional editing. And yes, that does happen. But there is also hard-working, talented writers who give their scripts the professional treatment they deserve. Just like this one. Dynasty Codes is a series that proves how good indie books can be. So I've called the series Lite Grimdark a few times, and so what are we talking about here? This story is all about showing what real history looks like. It never tries to revel in graphic violence or over-the-top gore, but it also confronts the realism a fair bit. There is violence, some light torture, depictions of slavery and hardship. There is a sex scene in Book 2. There is no sexual assault on screen, but it's acknowledged many times to be happening off screen. And there are a lot of child victims too. Unfortunately, children have a bad time in this series, in multiple cases of child murder and child assault. Again, it's straight out of history, so that is what we're dealing with here. So I got word from the author herself just this week. So book 3 will be the final book in the series, and it's in the drafting phase still, no release date just yet. It's going to be slightly bigger than the first two. And I should mention on that note, both books 1 and 2 are about 500 pages long, so a good solid read. Also, book 3 jumps ahead in time, into a world with a fair bit more magic now, and it will resolve the final mystery surrounding the Origin Curse. There is talk of some standalone novels in this world. Of particular note is a prequel novel about Gora's mysterious past. But the reality of being an indie author is you've often got to work a full-time job and write in your spare time. So everyone go buy a copy of Sarah's book so she can afford time to write more of these books because they're amazing. Cool? Okay. How much should you try? Well, Origin Curse is a fantastic book. It's very strong and I loved it. You will know right away if you want to try it. Just please, if you enjoy book 1, go and actually read book 2 as well. I know, crazy. Now, because this is an indie author, I'm going to hard sell you on this a little bit more than normal. So if you want to support Sarah Kate Ishii and the Dynasty Codes series, there is a link into the description to her website where you can buy all of her books. You can follow her on all of her social media accounts as well. Now, unfortunately, this series is not available as audiobooks, which is very common for indie authors. But if you all go and buy 20 copies of the physical books, I'm sure there'll be audiobooks very soon. So check out her stuff, support an indie author, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. Good luck, my friends, and happy reading. Thanks for watching. I especially appreciate you watched a video on a indie author, an unknown author, and you didn't give in to all that clickbait appeal. I've got one more video coming next week about 3 small authors you've never heard before. I'll be looking at 3 standalone books. That'll be heaps of fun. This whole theme is to celebrate my own books coming to Kickstarter in just a few days. The Immortal Investigation is my trilogy of books launching very soon on Kickstarter on the 30th of September 2024. Please support the official release. There's a whole video on that series if you haven't watched that already. I also have a shop and a Patreon if you want to support me there. Otherwise, simply comment and subscribe and that'll boost my video. I always appreciate that. I will see you next time. I hope you enjoy a good book today. Bye.